Hello and welcome to Man's Model Moments. With the success of my video on using Temu for modelling products, Temu reached out to me again and suggested further collaboration, which, as should be obvious from the title, I agreed to. Now whilst I explain exactly what I hope to show you in this and the follow-up videos, I'll show you a QR code on the screen along with a promo code for you all so you can download the app and get access to the deals this time. As the main event last time was an aircraft in the form of the Border Models Nakajima Kate, this time I'm giving all of you armour modelers some love, and the big deal here is just as good as last time, so stick around for that. Anyway, I have tried to theme the purchases I made both this time and in the next video. This time I wanted to explore the most obvious and logical extension to armour modelling, and that is the subject of dioramas. With that in mind, let's get to unboxing. The first thing outside of the actual models we're going to use for our diorama is, of course, the base. You want something strong, light and easy to work with, so foam core board is ideal. These are a 6-pack of 30 by 20 cm, 12 by 8 inches for US viewers, at 5mm thick, costing £7.49 or about £1.25 a sheet. You can find cheaper boards out there, but these are a convenient size and you don't really want big sections of board hanging around if you're just dipping your toe into the diorama arena. So these avoid these questions from your long-suffering partner as to where you're planning to store that A1 size board. Now this board will get you the broad profile of your base, but you'll still need to create a textured surface over this, and that's where my next purchase comes in. These are a pair of plaster gauze bandages, 15 cm wide, once again for my US viewers, about 6 inches by 106 inches long, or just under 3 meters. These have the advantage over straight plaster of having a medium to support the plaster to help create the look you want and prevent cracking of the surface. They are also easy to cut to size, so you're only using what you need and not either making too much plaster or not enough. This pair costs less than £3 each, which will last you for a few bases I think. Now to cut those plaster bandages to size, I got some sewing scissors. These were £1.79 and I think they're probably more useful as decal scissors, which I'm kind of missing at the moment, so these are a good thing to add to the modelling toolbox. Now a very handy thing to have when creating a diorama, and actually for AFV modelling in general, is a cordless rotary tool. These allow you to grind and shape your terrain and also add texture to armour surfaces, thin down plastic for side skirts and such, as well as recreate battle damage. It uses rechargeable batteries via a standard plug-in USB lead. This one was £16.14 and has 3 speed settings. Also useful when using the tool on different surfaces. Very high speeds on one of these tools will melt plastic, for example. It comes with a huge range of accessories, and having lots of different chuck sizes, you can use it with other sets as well that are available elsewhere on the market. It is quite compact and sits easily in the hand. All good points. Next up for creating a diorama is paint. Now I don't personally think that painting your bare baseboards with paints for scale models is very sensible, since the plaster is going to be very absorbent and you're going to want to build up your terrain effects. As such, regular acrylic craft paints are more than suitable for this task, which is what I have here, a set of 12 colours for £11.49. As you can see, unfortunately one of mine has leaked in shipping. It looks like it's full, so maybe it was just overfilled, but this is just a hazard of any delivery item. Now to go with that paint, although it's useful for all of the paints we have, especially those in smaller form bottles, is this mini laboratory vortex mixer. I've used these for many years, first as a student and a scientist, as they're ubiquitous in labs for quickly mixing components in test tubes, vials and the like. They basically spin the base of whatever you press into them at several thousand RPM. They're not cheap, but they're a really solid investment if you have a lot of paints and don't use them all regularly, or you don't want to injure your joint shaking bottles. This one has a variable speed, which is handy if you want to use it for different size containers and such. Now in the first Temu video I did, I had some paintbrushes which were suited to terrain painting, and I've added to these here with a set of 6 dry brushes at £10.99. Dry brushing is an ideal technique for both armour modelers and terrain, and with the various sizes included here you can cover all eventualities. These ones are a little on the soft side, so probably more suitable for the terrain than for your models. Now I just want to take a moment to thank all of you who have supported me directly through YouTube memberships and Patreon. This really does keep the channel going, and without you it would be very difficult for me to be able to continue doing this. Now if you're only just seeing your name on here for the first time, it's because I update this monthly, and if I've prepared some videos ahead of time, then there may still have the old list on, even if the list has been updated since then. Don't worry though, your name will get on the list and will continue to appear throughout your support. If you are considering supporting me, YouTube channel membership is by far the easiest way to do this, since Patreon is becoming a more challenging platform to engage with. Whichever you choose, however, I absolutely appreciate your contributions, and don't forget to come and check out the private members Discord, which you get access to at any level. Now once your terrain is base painted, you're going to want to add some sort of ground vegetation. A lot of the time this comes in the form of flocking. The first is this 3mm static grass nylon flock in light green for £1.69. This is good for creating large areas of very similar terrain like grass. Next up is this DIY artificial moss kit for £1.19, which is more suitable I think for use in bushes or for use with branches and roots and such to create scale trees. Now a basic ground texture is usually not enough to create a convincing diorama, so I have some other pieces here. First are these 1/35th scale bricks for £6.62. If you're thinking of a World War II or later diorama and want something urban, these individual bricks let you create partial walls and also break them up and create rubble. Generally you don't need that many of these to add to a diorama to get that extra little bit of punch. Next is this lichen, which is great for large bushes or again for creating trees with. This can be pretty pricey if you look for it in rail model stores, but I got this small 30g bag here for just £2.19. Aside from the normal static grass and scatter, I also got a couple of different grass tufts. These are really useful for dioramas, scenic bases, and even miniatures, including for wargames like 40k. The first set I got here has 77 individual tufts in a whole range of different sizes for £4.99. The second set has 32 more uniform tufts in a dead grass colour for just £3.19. These are great for breaking up the uniformity of a base and adding some flavour. Another thing that people tend to forget when making dioramas is that they tend to be a rather sanitised view of the world. In reality, nature is quite messy, with dead leaves and branches just falling on the ground and being swept away to wherever the elements can't find them. As such, leaf clutter helps to add a sense of realism to scenes, and I bought 5 different colours here for a couple of pounds each. You don't need much of these for a scene, so these will last a long time. A couple of other items I added here that have multiple uses, both in dioramas and lots of other modelling, are these copper rods. I got both 0.5 and 1mm diameter here for a couple of pounds each. The uses of these are almost too many to list, since they're really only limited by your imagination. You can use them to pin parts to each other or to the base, create features, replace grab handles, aerials, pitot tubes, the list goes on. Having straight rods rather than wire means that you can recreate that look perfectly, which is difficult to otherwise. I'm sure you guys can think of more uses than I can, so let me know in the comments if you've got any uses for the rod that I haven't mentioned. The last few items I have here are going to be going back to painting, but really focusing on detail. That's because few dioramas really shine without figures. Painting figures is a different skill set to that of painting scale models, though the skills of one can certainly help the other. That said, the first item I got was this set of 6 detail painting brushes for £3. As I mentioned in the last video, there are a host of brushes on Temu, all sorts of types and handle shapes. I find I tend to prefer these traditional slim brushes, probably just from familiarity. Next is something that I think every modeler should own, but an awful lot of scale modelers don't, and that's a wet palette. These are invaluable when painting figures, since they allow you to keep and mix a number of paints without them drying out, which helps in colour consistency and in blending, two things that go a long way in figure painting. This one was around £12 and has several spare papers. The basic idea of a wet palette is that you have a water reservoir, usually absorbent paper, a sponge or a mixture, beneath a semi-permeable paper that you put your paints on. This creates a moist surface and atmosphere that retards the drying of your paints, allowing longer working times without compromising the properties of your acrylic emulsions on the subject. If you've never used one before, they take a little getting used to, but you won't find many top-level painters who don't use them, so it's worth investing in. This one also has a separate water reservoir and a handy little grill for actually cleaning your paintbrushes off on, so I think this is a really good one, and it's also quite compact, making it also suitable for taking with you on your travels. The last item here is also a very general purpose utility item, and that is this set of 100 plastic pipettes. These are fantastic for all kinds of things, but transferring paint to and from an airbrush is one of the main things I use them for. If you have paint in non-dropper bottles, these take all of the pain out of paint manipulation and allow you to know exactly what sort of ratios of paint to thinner you've used, which is handy information to know for the next time you use them. Now let's talk about models. I've been itching to do a couple of dioramas recently, and given I've got the ICM Leopard 2 and Ukrainian crew, a modern Ukrainian diorama seems obvious. Being British, I thought I'd also get this, the Trumpeter Challenger 2 in 1/35th scale. I've not modelled a post-war British tank, and as the Challenger 2 has an incredible record and is in Ukraine along with the Leopard 2, I thought this would be an ideal build. At around the £30 mark, it's pretty affordable too. I've also reviewed the ICM Hummer recently, and having built it, that video will be coming soon, a desert-themed diorama also takes my fancy. I happen to love the look of the Macava tank, so this, the Macava with RKM Mine Roller, was an interesting one for me, as it's got a bit of a different twist. This is a mini hobby models kit, who are essentially a reboxer of old Trumpeter toolings. The last item I want to cover here is the real jewel in the crown, however, the Meng Models Mastiff 2. This is an absolutely gorgeous full interior kit which retails for about £70. It was released last year and got really good reviews, so I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into this. Now if you also want to get stuck into this, the kit is less than £50 on Temu, but if you use the QR code shown on screen at the moment, you can get this kit for an amazing £16.66. That's kind of mind-blowing to me, given that that's less than £1 more than the god-awful Airfix Bristol Belvedere I reviewed recently. So I'll leave that QR code on screen here, but the link is also in the video description below. Anyway, I hope I've shown you all that creating a diorama doesn't have to involve expensive materials, and I hope you join me in the future to see these materials being put to use in my own dioramas. That's all for this instalment of Man's Model Moments. If you enjoyed the video, please click the like button, subscribe to the channel for more like it, and share this video with others you think would also enjoy it. You can also follow me on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook, and if you're feeling generous, then I also have a Patreon, which is absolutely the best way of helping me to grow the channel and produce more content like this. With that, I hope you have plenty of modelling moments of your own, and I look forward to welcoming you on the next video.